Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Well, welcome to the September 6th. You meant to say August. September 6th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. We're glad to have you all back with another week with another amazing episode. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
And we hope you all are having a great week so far. And our weather in Houston has finally broken some because we had a horrible heat with no rain. We finally got rain. We got rain, multiple rains, and we are feeling better now. And it's not as hot.
We've been getting both. We've been getting the rain and the heat.
Oh, okay. Well, it's still hot, but it's not 100 like it was for weeks. That was a horrible experience. Anyway, before we get started, Rhonda has an update she wants to give about a class that she's doing.
Oh, well, yes, I do. So, I have been invited to be a professor with Poet Life University. It's a nationwide platform mostly to help poets who want to either take their craft to the next level, or maybe they're interested in publishing their own work. And so I will be doing a 6-week course on self-publishing. Like I said, it's geared toward poets, but those of you who are not poets and you're wanting this information, you are going to really benefit from this workshop. Some of the classes I'm going to be offering are editing, how to self-edit, how to find an editor, what to look for when you're doing your own writing. We'll also be going over formatting your book, as well as getting published. And of course, as like everybody wants to know, how do I market my book? Because, everybody knows you just go straight from idea to marketing. There's really no publishing or writing or editing in the middle of it, So we're going to be talking about all of that. So if you'd like more information, just contact me on the Meet the World Image Solutions Facebook page, and I will send you the information. And I will also put the link to the university in the chat for those of you who like to just take a quick click and check it out. But don't do it during the show. Do it after the show. I mean, because you got to pay attention to the authors for tonight. But we cannot wait to, I cannot wait to teach this. This is going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to meeting more aspiring authors and helping them to reach their dreams. And if you're in the DMV area, we also want to let you know I'm one of the sponsors for the Black Authors Expo that will be taking place in Woodbridge, Virginia this coming weekend. And we've been interviewing a lot of the authors on the Meet the World Image Solutions Instagram page. And it's been really fun. There's going to be some great authors who are a part of this. And I'm having fun because I've never met the DMV authors before. So this is really good for me too. So I'm excited. This has been a great week.
Okay, well, a couple of things. I'm only going to do one right now. This is the book for our book club kickback, which is next week. If you haven't gotten your copy and you haven't downloaded it, Brandon Massey will be on to discuss this book next week. So that'll be the second half of our show. And we also have our first guest waiting to come on. And Rhonda, while you are doing the discussion, I'm going to email, because I don't have the cell phone number. Our 8 o'clock guest is on an hour early. And so I don't know. Sometimes people get the time zones mixed up. So I and I don't have her cell number, so I'm going to email her to let her know she's an hour early. So if I'm looking down during the interview, that's why. So we are welcoming our first guest to the show, Barnard Sims. And Barnard has a book called The Southern Awakening that came out earlier this year. And he's also a chess expert.
Ooh.
And well, you're a coach, so you can't coach chess if you're not an expert. So anyway, and he has a nonprofit. So he's going to tell us all about those things during the interview. And Barnard, if you could unmute your mic so we can hear you. We can see you, but we want to be able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
We can
welcome
definitely hear
to
you.
Black Authors Matter TV.
Well, thank you for having me at Black Authors Matter TV. It's a blessing to be here. Black Authors Matter and Black bookstores matter, and people like you and your husband Willie, who founded the organization like this to give people like me from the rural South a voice, that matters too. So thank you all for having me here. You and Rhonda, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being here. Now, what part of the South are you from?
I'm from Georgia. It's in between Athens and Atlanta, closer to Athens. But I'm from the South, and not far from where Ahmaud Arbery was gunned down and killed by three vigilantes. So not far from there. So the realities of racism weighs heavy and it's real, but it's very important for us to have access to people like you all to amplify our voices outside of this region, because sometimes inside of this region we won't change unless the world is ashamed by our acts.
And that's what happens. I mean, a lot of people were ashamed about what happened in 2020. And it wound up actually opening the doors for people to learn more about why we say Black Lives Matter. And they learn more about our art, more about our history. So I think that's the good part that came out of it. You mentioned the Ahmaud Arbery case. My sorority sisters in that area have been very, very active and making sure that his story does not fall by the wayside. And they've been doing a lot of community service and a lot of activism out there. So I have to give a very special shout out to the ladies of Zeta Phi Beta sorority over in Georgia for what they're doing to work with the family, with Ahmaud Arbery's family, and what they're doing to make sure that legislation continues to be pushed through.
Yes. I mean, people outside of here were like shocked that something like this could happen, but people here, we're so accustomed to it, we normalize it. We were amazed that somebody finally got arrested and convicted. So that's at least a positive change in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Well, video evidence is powerful, and that's in just about every situation. If you have video evidence, pictures worth 1,000 words. And while eyewitness testimonies can vary, the video is not, it doesn't change.
We can't always say that video evidence tells the whole story, or video evidence is going to be conclusive, because we know very many cases where there was video evidence and the people in that video got off. So
well, that's true, but without a video, in this case, they wouldn't have even probably been arrested or found, without the video. So the video evidence, we would rather have it than not have it.
And we also got to realize that the video evidence, the only reason we saw it is because they showed it. They were so proud of what they did, and they didn't see anything wrong with it, that they recorded it and showed it to us. So I'm just saying, this is the mindset of the surroundings of the people that I'm involved with every day.
Well, let's move on to a cheerful subject. Let's talk. Let's talk about Barnard the barber.
Right, and I don't own a nonprofit yet. I actually work with a nonprofit, Leap for Literacy, where they sponsor children to become first-time authors themselves, under the premises of in African culture, the story of the hunt only favors the hunter until the lion shares the truth. And so we're trying to encourage more literacy and more readers in our community, because as you know, this is the lions telling their truth, and I want to be an example for that, and through my literacy journey.
Okay, so how long have you worked with the nonprofit?
I've worked with several nonprofits. So basically all my adult life. Chess and Community, Leap for Literacy, just to name a few. I'm very passionate about, doing good service work.
And that's what I was
Okay.
going to ask you. I wanted to hear about your literacy journey, and why you decided to take this on, because you have chess and then you're also promoting literacy, and then you brought those two worlds together. So I'd like to find out how all of this started for you.
Basically necessity. I was sitting at home during the pandemic and watching George Floyd on the ground crying for his life, and my little daughter looking at the TV screen and said, "Dad, why doesn't that police officer get off that man's neck?" She was 8 years old. And I realized in that moment that why should it take a advanced society all this time, all these protests to get a conviction finally and get a arrest and a conviction when this 8-year-old child knew that something was wrong instantly. And so I realized that in order to fix the state of the system, first I have to fix me, and in challenging these structures and hoping to encourage our society to expect better, because we are better. And that literacy, that as far as me becoming an author, it was just out of necessity and frustration and looking around and not having another viable option to express myself, because if I raise my hands, the police will shoot me. So I have to kind of calmly articulate myself in a manner that's not aggressive. And so writing was my path to liberation for that. That's why I want to, because as men and as boys especially, we're taught growing up, shut up, stop that crying, or I give you something to cry about.
Right.
And so we internalize a lot of things without having an outlet to express ourselves. We're expected to be Superman without a booth to change into our costume in. And so writing for me was it was my booth. It was my way to pave a pathway to liberation. And as Frederick Douglass said, it's hard to enslave a man once they learn the power of reading. And so I started to read and write.
Now, when did you become a barber?
Oh, that's been all my life. It was something I found, like growing up. I love to create artistically, and my mother used to put all kinds of pieces of paper on the floor, and I would just draw for hours. And sort of barbering is like my way to create stuff artistically with clippers, and that became like a thing for me. But also it's critical in my writing because, again, in African culture, the wisest people in the village are usually the ones who spend the most time absorbing and listening to the wisdom of the elders. And in our communities, who spends more time than the barbers and beauticians in our community, listening to the wisdom of the elders than barbers and beauticians in our community? So that's what the perspective I write from. I have a hand on the pulse of my community, actually. And so I want to amplify their voices and things they may not have the courage to say. I want to be able to speak up on their behalf in my community, my behalf and my community's behalf through writing.
People say that you can, that's where men gather and share their gossip is at the barbershop. So
they also look, often they look at the barber as the elder. Often that older barber who's been there for a long time, he's a respected person in the community. So I see exactly that correlation that you're making there. And
let's not forget, it's kind of, you have a lot of influence on a man when you license to hold a razor to his neck. Let's not forget that.
Very true. Very true.
Hard to disagree with a man with a razor to your neck.
Now on the creative side, some of the styles that people are wearing now, young men and boys, they have really gotten creative. You have just regular cuts, you have locks, you have, all kinds of styles now. Whereas before, in the past, well, it ebbs and flows because, it'll be a little more conservative for a while and then things spring up. Now, do the styles come from the barber? Do they come from the community? Where do they emanate? When it's a new style, who decides it's a new style?
It's
Do you
kind of
know?
organic and it
Okay.
reproduces itself. It's like, Mr. T was wearing a mohawk back then, and everybody thought he looked crazy, but he was too big and bulky for somebody to say that to him. But then, now everybody's wearing a mohawk. So I think it's like it evolves and it changes a little bit over time. As they say, nothing's new under the sun, but it
Mhm.
circles around. If you look at like braids, when you look at the hieroglyphics, you see that people back in ancient times had braids and stuff, and we thinking just now people getting fired from jobs for having cornrows, but people had cornrows way back when. So I think it evolves over time and it's organic.
So how did you bring all of these worlds together? Barnard the barber, and then you're Barnard the chess champion, chess coach, and the books. How did you bring all of these worlds together?
It's really, to me, it's all the same thing. It's based off of feeling. I'm actually a district chess coach for kids at the Boys and Girls Club. Was volunteering doing that, and our motto was from Chess and Community was think before you move. But my motto that I wanted, because I noticed that in our school systems, our kids were being overlooked as far as put in the gifted programs, and they would be exposed to chess. But uh, a lot of our kids are gifted. So why are they in these programs in the South? And so my motto in that was, and before every chess lesson at the Boys and Girls Club, I would have the kids repeat after me: I am smart, I am gifted. My next move will be my best move. And that's preparing them for success, which is part of the book that Southern Awakening is in, like many phases, but it's one is personal responsibility. We have to believe we can achieve in order to have success. I always heard the country folks in the South say, the man who thinks he can and the person who thinks they can't are both right. And so it starts with personal responsibility. And so in merging of those worlds, I like to see other people succeed. And I was able to go into a Boys and Girls Club. Well, the leaders on the board were like, these kids can't play chess. All they can do is run around. And I said, that's part of the problem, is we don't think they can. And if we don't think they can, how are they ever going to be successful? So I don't subscribe to that. And I went in there, and in 3 months, I took a group of kids, and none of them had ever played chess before. We went to a regional tournament and we almost wiped the table clean, because I believe in that. And once our children believe, then they can achieve.
They probably were underestimated, and that's a lot of times that's one of your best weapons. When your opposition doesn't think that you can beat them, they underestimate your skills. And so that's great. I never learned how to play chess, and I think I tried once and looked at it and I just didn't. But it's a great strategic game. I mean, there's a saying, play chess, not checkers. And that's a testament to the strategy that's involved with chess. You have to be able to anticipate your opponent's moves, like 2 or 3, what he'll do when that part I know. If you make a move, you have to be able to anticipate how they're going to respond to your moves, maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead. So that's great. I'm glad that you did do that, because children can learn. Children are sponges. They can learn whatever they're taught. But if no one thinks they can and doesn't take the time to actually teach them, then they won't.
Well, I agree with that. I think that our kids are often very naturally gifted, and then when they learn something, not just gifted, but they're actually naturally competitive. So when they learn something new, they want to get as good as they can at it. And then when it's time to compete, they want to get even better at it. And I think it's one of the reasons for that is we don't take those things for granted. We're learning something new. We're learning something that other people don't know. So we want to be even better at it. And we want to be better than the next person at it. So we wind up being good at it. I mean, if we look at Venus and Serena, they grew up in a neighborhood where nobody was playing tennis. It wound up being all-time tennis champions. We just celebrated Serena as being the greatest of all time. And
everybody told their dad he was crazy.
Right,
These things that they could could do it. So,
I don't mean
you
to
can't
jump in
listen
on
to
y'all, but
naysayers. People who are negative, don't listen to them, because sometimes sometimes it's, the craft thing. Sometimes they just don't understand what you see. You can see something they can't see, and they can't understand it. But negativity, I don't listen to it. I turn it off. Because if you have something constructive, that's one thing. But if you're just being negative just for the sake of being negative, that's wasted energy. And so I don't listen to those people.
Right. So we have a few minutes left. I wanted to find out the Southern Awakening. What exactly is the Southern Awakening?
it's a Black man's guide to liberating the rural South. And one of the questions I get asked most of the time is, why the Black man's guide to liberating the rural South? And my response is, I've read thousands of books with white folks coming up with their solutions for our people. Why not from a Black man's perspective? Who can tell you more what's wrong with our society than a person who's ended up walking out of their doors with and try to do everything right, and doors still slamming in our faces of supposed marginal, viewed marginalized people? We all know we just as Black Americans, we go out into a world where our parents have taught us you got to be 2 times better to get half a chance. Well, that's not fair. That's too much pressure to expect somebody to pitch a perfect game every day of their life for the rest of their life. I think we got to challenge our world to be better. And that's where the awakening begins, is to challenge these structures, especially in rural pockets of oppression. Because what Donald Trump did teach us is that these rural folks are crazy enough to try to overthrow an election. And so if we could try to appeal to some of those, not those that went to the Capitol, because it's hard to reason with somebody who went to the Capitol in white feces. I'm sorry, y'all, but on the walls of Congress, it's hard to reason with somebody like that. But there are people on the fringes in the rural South that just don't understand. And they think, hey, I'm not racist, I have a black truck. I'm like, okay, well, that makes you not racist, but but if that makes you not racist, well, let's be anti-racist. Let's all come together and be against something because it's wrong. And let's build a community that's embraces to everybody and all of our cultures. We all come in different shapes, sizes, and colors. Let's utilize our different skill sets and talents to build a better community for us all.
Amen.
So do you have a copy of your book?
Yes, I think I
Show
got
it
one
to
behind me.
Oh, show it to us.
Oh, okay.
So we'll know. So when people go online, they'll know what to look for when they go to look for the book. They know what the cover looks like. Okay, and I'm assuming that's a picture of you on the cover.
Yeah, that's me on a good day.
It's
Okay.
a great photo.
That's nice. And it looks like it's a hardcover book, is it?
This is a hardcover.
Okay.
I'm actually working on the audio book. Hopefully my voiceover coach, Dane Reed, is listening. He's trying to get me right on my audio book.
If your voiceover coach takes away your beautiful accent, I'm gonna have to fight with him.
No, he don't do that. He got a Jamaican sort of like Harlem, but not Harlem, but New York, Jamaican, New York.
Okay.
But he embraces me right where I'm at.
Although
he did tell me when I was some of the words I was pronouncing, in the South, we say the first part of the word and we expect you to figure out the rest of it. So he's been working with me on enunciating.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you're gonna read your own book?
Yes. I've been taking acting lessons and voiceover lessons.
Okay.
Because I know the characters in there. I changed characters from the white guy who's like, I'm not racist. I got a black cat. My cousin dates a black. Well, I done heard all kind of excuses of what's not racist in the South, as y'all can imagine.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. You're doing the different voices. I can see that. But I'm guessing you say characters. So this is actually a nonfiction book, isn't it?
Right. But I'm chronicling real experiences in the South. Real experiences, a life of experiences, and pooling that with experiences of the community. Because they share things with the barber, and I've been a liaison or like writer for the legal redress team for the NAACP. So I'm chronicling and compiling all of those stories into the Southern Awakening.
Okay.
That should be
I had a
really
question.
interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just
Okay.
saying it should be interesting.
I had a question about, there was a movement a while back. I don't know how far back, and I don't know if it's still going on, but it was with barbershops in different cities, Black barbershops people were donating books to the barbershops. And when the children would come in to get their hair cut, they would have the books available. Did you participate in that, or did you have anything like that in your barbershop?
Yes, I did have like books from the program that I sponsored for like children illustrated books in my
Right.
barbershop, but I wasn't an author before the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, I had 3 months to just sit there and, contemplate how can I make a contribution to the elevation of humanity? And that's what I came up with in the Southern Awakening.
Okay. Yeah, because I just wondered about that children's book program that I had been reading about.
Mhm.
And I can't remember exactly when it was.
We have
But
a
it was
few minutes
recently.
left. Okay, and I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Rhonda.
Okay, and I was just gonna say, we have a few minutes left, and I would love if you could tell the audience where they can find your book, because I think a lot of what you're saying is really resonating with the audience, and I'm looking at the comments as they're coming in, and I know that there are going to be people who want to either connect with you or to read this book, or even both.
Well, the best place, as authors, we all understand the best place to get them is from Barnard the Barber, BARNARD. I spell my name with A, BarnardTheBarber.com. But if you don't get it there, please support like local independent Black-owned bookstores. Even though in the South, some of these white stores are really embracing me, like Wall of Books, because it's very competitive in the marketplace. Even on Amazon, I get a lot of sales there. It's basically everywhere anywhere books are sold. But the thing is, when people buy on Amazon, they don't leave a review. It's like if you get 50 or more reviews, then that puts you in a different plateau as an author. But I got like 1,000 kinfolks, and they'll get the book and won't leave a review. So I'm trying to work on that.
It's a battle we all fight. Don't feel bad. I
It
keep telling
is.
people all the time. I probably say it every week. If we want our first and second time authors to become national best-selling authors, to be career authors and so forth, we have to support them at that first and second author level. Continue to share books. Now, when I say share book, I don't mean you buy a book and then let 10 of your friends read that one book. That's not supporting the author. But share links. Tell people to buy the book. Leave a review, because there are a lot of people who will not buy a book unless they read the reviews.
Right.
And if they don't see the reviews, they're automatically going to think it's not a good book.
Right.
So we've got to support our fellow authors.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the chicken and the egg principle, kind of, So it is important. Reviews are important, but I tell people don't leave a negative review. Just because if you didn't like the book, just don't say anything. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
I'd rather, if you're going to leave a negative review, I would just say at least make it a constructive negative review. I mean, there are some people who just totally trash books.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
who just have negative people. I don't like negative people. So if you're going to, and then if you have something criticism, contact the author directly. You don't have to publicize it. You can send the author an email. But we know your reviews are going to be great, Barnard. So we're not worried about that. But it is important. It is important to do reviews, because I'm a reader. I do that. I pay attention to the reviews. I'm an avid reader, so I want to read something that's at least worth my time reading.
Absolutely.
And but a lot of times if it's a memoir or a biographical, you can't, the person's life is their life. So what they're going to say is not something that they can duplicate from somebody else. It's their own personal experience. Right. Well, we're at the end of our half hour. but
Right.
we really appreciate your being a guest on the show. And your book, The Southern Awakening, is available wherever books are sold.
Okay.
And leave a review because support is an action verb.
It is.
Okay.
That's
You
why I
are
ended
right.
with an
We
economic piece.
posted the
on that.
website in the chat, and now I'll post it one more time before you go off. But one of the viewers, Bernita, wanted to know where you were from, just real quick. What part of Georgia is it again?
In between Athens and Atlanta.
So what's the name of the town?
Statham, Georgia, the big city of Statham, Georgia, is one red light, and I don't know why it's red because ain't nothing coming but a train. But if you've been through it, the sign say well, and then it don't even say come because by that time you're already gone. It's very small.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to visit that town.
It won't take you long.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. We really appreciate it, and we really enjoyed the conversation, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors with your books and with coaching and with your barbershop and everything else.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. It's been a pleasure. Bless you. Blessings to y'all.
All right, thank you.
Okay, same here.
Thank you.
Okay, I do want to let you all know who we have coming up, and then we're going to give away 2 books really quickly so we can bring on our next guest. Our next guest is none other than Wade Hudson with Just Us Books. Wade and his wife have been around forever, and we're excited about having him on the show. Our third guest is Jeannine Cook. She is the proprietor of Harriet's Bookshop in Philadelphia. And she has another bookshop called Ida's Bookshop. She named them after Harriet Tubman and Ida B. Wells. And then our final guest is Michelle Lindo-Rice, who's a multi-published author, and she just recently became a literary agent. She started literary agency work, so she's going to talk about that. So before we bring Wade Hudson on, very quickly, we are going to give away 2 books. One is Unbothered by Omarion. This is an advanced reading copy. For him is yellow, but he will be one of the featured authors at this year's National Black Book Festival. And the trivia question for this book is, his new book, Unbothered, is organized by what 3 pillars? P-I-L-L-A-R-S, pillars, not pillows. So what are the 3 pillars that he discusses in his book, Unbothered? And the second one, I'm going to wait till after the interview so we can bring Wade Hudson on, and you all can just wait for the next book. And we are very excited to have Wade Hudson of Just Us Books on Black Authors Matter TV. We're waiting for his audio to come on and the video, because we don't have him on camera either yet. So we're waiting on that. But I remember Just Us Books when we had our bookstore, when we first opened Kush City, the bookstore in the year 2000. That was when we opened the bookstore. We had it from 2000 to 2010. And his children's books, the children's books they published, they were in very high demand. The Afrobets books, they had them for small kids with the numbers and the letters and shapes. And they sold like hotcakes. So we sold a ton of those books at Kush City. And so let's see if we can get him on camera. I see his picture there. And I sent him a unmute message. See if we can get him on. But I don't know exactly what year Just Us Books was established, but they were around. Oh, there's Wade. And so all we need now is the sound so we can.
Okay, so here we are. Hello, hello, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Yes, good to be with you. Good to be with you. Little technical difficulties, but we're good. We're good.
Okay, we're good. It's all
Everything's
good.
overcomable.
Yes.
Listen,
So,
I am just so happy to be with you. Listen, we gotta make our way down to Texas. And,
you do.
Yeah.
do.
So let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Okay. Or we'll plan. We'll talk after and plan on that for the future. I would love to have you come. So tell us, you all have been around in the book publishing industry forever. I don't know if you heard my early comments, but I was telling the audience that when we had our bookstore, Cush City, our brick and mortar store, your books were some of the first children's books we took in to sell, and they were very popular. The Afro Betts books.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I don't know if they're still in print. Are they still?
Yes, yeah. In fact, they are. The Afrobest ABC book, which was the first book that we published, that was authored by my wife Cheryl, and co-founder of Just Us Books, is still in print, still selling. The Afrobest Book of Shape is still available. Book of Colors. So yeah, I mean, it's like almost 3 generations. I mean, since we released, because Just Us Books will actually be celebrating its 34th year in business in October. Yeah.
Oh, well, congratulations.
That's an amazing feat, especially in this day and age.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And the industry has changed quite a bit over those 34 years. I was just recently reading an article where Simon & Schuster and Penguin Random House are attempting to merge. Now, right now, there are only 5 really major book publishing companies in this country, and those 5 publishing companies own about they account for about 80% of the trade book sales in this country. So Just Us Books and other independent publishing companies are scrambling, trying to get that other 20%. And when we started back in 88, there were many, many more independent publishing companies that were part of the industry, and that has changed quite a bit.
So did you all, when you all started off, there were more Black bookstores too, I believe, back then.
Well, at one point, Gwen, I think there were, if I remember correctly, there were well over 250 Black booksellers. Some of them were bookstores, some of them were barbershops and beauty places that were selling books as well, because a lot of folks were selling books. And if you remember, I mean, it really was a revolution during that time in Black book publishing and Black book selling.
Yes, there really was. And because at one point in Houston, I think we had either 5 or 6 Black bookstores.
Yes.
Because Houston is so big that you can have.
You weren't even competing with each other.
No, you weren't, because most people, when they shop, and the science has already proved this, when they shop for anything, it's within a 5-mile radius.
Yes.
So we had them all over, and now, for a period, and we were one of the 5, and then we closed our store, and then they all closed, and then now there's 2. There's 2 that opened recently since COVID. There've been 2 new ones that have opened.
Yeah.
So, but the book selling can be very challenging.
Yes.
As well as I'm sure book publishing is challenging. Now, do you all publish only your books, or do you?
No, we publish other authors and illustrators as well. In fact, probably 95% of the books that we published over the years have been written and are illustrated by others. We've given a number of Black writers opportunities to be published, or Black illustrators as well. In addition to our publishing, and I think you are aware of this, we have been really advocates for diversity and inclusion in the children's book publishing industry.
Right.
And from the beginning, we took on that as a challenge to help change the landscape to become more inclusive. And others have joined us along the way. And then we were also following in the footsteps of others who were fighting that battle as well. And there have been some significant changes. A lot still needs to be done, but I am sort of happy about the progress that has been made in spite of what we still have to do. We still have a lot more to do.
We have a number of children's book authors who have come on the show, and most all of them make the same statement that there aren't a lot of children's book authors of color. And I believe that there are a lot, but I think that maybe they don't all realize the stories that that we can share. Everything doesn't have to be a QT story, and everything doesn't have to be a I'm going to teach you a lesson type story. We have a gamut of stories that we can tell, and I think often we may not always realize that. So what would be your advice to these authors?
Well, it is difficult to get published. Even for white writers, it's difficult to get published. So you know how challenging it is for black authors. I agree with you that I think the push now is to write about the wide range of experience in the Black community. In past years, we've sort of been pigeonholed.
Yes.
If a certain topic is doing well, then publishing companies tend to want more books
Right.
about that topic. I think it's starting to change now, but one thing that I am really encouraged by is the fact that many of the authors and illustrators of color who have been published and are being published have sort of come together, and they are really looking out for the interests of the whole and not their own, just their individual interests. So I think they've brought a lot of clout, and they've made some inroads in pushing the envelope, and I think you will see more of that. I think what the challenge is now is to get more people of color working at these companies in editorial positions,
Yes.
in
Yes.
marketing, and also in sales. You know, that's where we fall short in a big way, and
That
very
is
little
such
progress
a
has been made
huge
there.
point. Yes, that is such a huge point. And we often say, oh, that company is being racist, or that they're not doing this and they're not doing that. And a lot of times you just don't know. If you look at their marketing teams or their editorial teams, they usually all pretty much look alike.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they don't know our experience. So they only
right.
go about what they think they know.
And I think the challenge too is that they want to stick to what they know. They don't want to learn anything
Yeah.
Right.
new. They
Right.
assume that what they have been doing is working. So if your book does not sell because they're not marketing it correctly, it's the book's fault,
It's
not
your
their
fault.
fault.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was shocked to hear, and I won't say the company, but one of the big five publishing houses, the people who are in publicity, the people who when they have an author sign, they set them up with different locations to do book signings and interviews and things like that.
Yeah, book tour. Yeah.
Yeah. None of the people are Black. It doesn't matter how many Black authors they have signed. The person who's assigned to do their publicity is not a Black person. So they will often ignore some of the Black destinations.
Well, they don't know the Black. They don't know the Black community.
No, they don't.
They have no understanding of the Black community.
They don't.
No, you're 100% right. But what's starting to happen? A lot of writers and illustrators of color in the children industry are starting to do more of their own marketing and publicity. And again, we're organizing and assisting each other, sharing information. For example, you know, if publishing companies can keep advances on the wraps and not let it be known what you're getting as an advance, they can give a writer of color a smaller advance than the other writers, right? But if we are sharing that information and we know what kind of advances are being offered, it empowers the writer to say, well, look, you know, I think I need a bigger advance, you know, and push them, because oftentimes if they can get away with giving you a lesser advance, they will do that. If they can get away with spending fewer dollars on the marketing efforts, they will do that. So you really have to push them. And again, the challenge is they stick to what they know. And they do not want to accept any new ways of looking at things. It's difficult to get them to do that. When we first started Just Us Books, obviously we knew the Black community. And so we set out in the beginning to connect with Black organizations, sororities, fraternities, church groups. We would go to festivals in various cities and other events where we actually took our books directly to the people. And I think that some of the larger children publishers saw what we were doing and they wanted to sort of emulate that. But because they did not have any Black people working in the publicity department or the marketing department, they didn't know how to go about it. Scholastic called us in for about a year and a half as consultants to help them market to the Black community. They know a little bit more about what to do now, but what they know still is not enabling them to sell books like books can be sold.
Right.
Written by Black authors.
Right. Yeah, there have been some changes, but I think the biggest two changes are not even within the big publishing houses. I think the two biggest changes are the ability to self-publish now, where you can self-publish a book. It can have the look of one of the big publishing houses. And if you have some marketing savvy, you can market it yourself. Yes. And the other big change is social media, because that cuts out the middleman in a lot of circumstances. And again, if you're creative on social media, you have some marketing savvy, you can promote your own work and connect with other authors and people in the industry, and not have to depend on finding an agent that can get you a book deal and all of the things that go along with that, or you can be waiting forever and never be published.
Yeah,
so,
now it certainly is has changed the landscape. There are many more books that are being published now that would not have been published if the author or the writer had not taken the initiative, him or herself, to do it. It's not easy.
No,
it is not easy. It is really hard. There are a lot of books that are self-published that remain in the basement.
Yes.
Right.
So that's
boxes in the garage.
In the garage, exactly. But someone who is savvy and can get some financial support, because you do need some money. You can sell some books. And printing has changed quite a bit now. You don't have to. When we first started, in order to get the unit price for a book reasonable, we had to print like 5,000 copies.
Right.
Right. If we were to print like a couple hundred copies, it would probably cost us $4 or $5 a book, right? So now you can because of technology, you can print 50 copies or 100 copies, when before you could not do that. So I think it's easier now to become a self-published author. But what I always say is always do your due diligence.
Yes.
Make sure you come up with a marketing plan, how you want to market that book. Bring in other professionals who can help you copy edit and design the book so that it does look comparable to what the major publishers are producing, because there are a lot of self-published books that don't look too inviting.
They look like self-published books.
Yeah, and then the editing is not really good. There are typos and things like that. So, but you really have to really cover all your bases in order to have a chance to really make it in the marketplace. And the other thing is, reviews are so important, particularly in the educational market, because we sell a lot of our books to schools and a lot of libraries and even school systems are asking for reviews. Who has reviewed the books, you know, and some distributors require a couple of book reviews before they even, you know, examine or consider a book that you've published. So it's tougher now. I mean, when we first started, it was not as difficult as it is now. And I think one of the challenges is that there's this push, not just in publishing, but you know, in all aspects of life in America, to be bigger. So companies are acquiring each other. So there are fewer people, fewer companies that you can go to now because it's being dominated by the big companies, whether that's in this book distribution. It's Ingram pretty much controls everything.
Well, Baker and Taylor.
Well, Baker and Taylor.
More for libraries, isn't it?
Well, Baker and Taylor was a competitor of Ingram several years ago, but then it was bought out by Follett, which is an educational distributor. But then they pushed Baker and Taylor to do more distributing in the educational and library arena. So Baker and Taylor was no longer in the trade area. So now, you know, Ingram pretty much controls everything. And so you hear a lot of book sellers complaining because they did have Baker and Taylor they could go to as an option, but now there's no option. It's either you deal with Ingram or you don't get your book from a distributor.
Right. Now, in the time we have left, we want to talk about your new book that's coming out.
Yeah.
And that's coming out October 12th. Do you have
well, you know, actually it's out.
Okay.
And it's out and it's doing well. We've gotten a lot of great reviews. And it's won a couple of important awards.
Wonderful.
And I'm very happy about it. It was something different for me to write about my own life. I mean, I've written books that really are more from the sideline rather than being totally involved in my own story. And I was actually encouraged to do that by Penguin Random House. We were at a luncheon at the Book Expo a few years ago, and I was sharing some stories about growing up in my little hometown, Mansfield in Louisiana, you know, during the civil rights era. And they said, wow, this is interesting. Why don't you consider writing your memoir? And you know, I had to think about it a lot before I went on to take it. And I'm happy that I did. I'm happy for several reasons. One is, you know, I have given life to that little small town and where I grew up. And also, I have shined a spotlight on those people who nourished me and loved me and supported me and encouraged me. You know, to me, as I was writing, I recognized that even though many of them did not even finish high school, they were what we would call common people. They were heroes. They were heroes.
Yes. Yeah. Now, do you have a copy of Defiant that you can show?
I sure do. Can you see it?
Put it closer to your face. Put it right in front of you.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Yes. But don't put it right in front of your face and keep your face the same position.
Is that it?
Well, we see half of it now. Is that a picture illustration of you on the cover, or is that a?
Yeah, actually, it is. It was actually done from a photograph. I think I was in 10th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in the 10th grade.
Oh, I see you look like a young man on that picture.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
Ingram has the release date listed as October 12th. That's why when you talk about
yeah,
Ingram.
but it was actually October 12th last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
October 12th,
yeah. So it's
2021.
actually,
Okay.
yeah, it's
So it's
actually
been
been
out a
out.
while.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
been out for almost a year and has done extremely well. If we
Okay.
have time, if I don't have my glasses here, but if we have time, I would like to read the poem that opens the book.
We have 5 minutes. We have enough time.
Okay, and the poem is called "Defiant Dreams."
Okay.
Dream bold and brave. Dream what goes beyond your reach, and asks those tough questions in search of a redefined future. Do not dream the routine dreams, dreams that conform to what others accept, that yield to what seeks to box you in, that limit your reach and determine your destiny. Dream dreams like those that created the pyramids, that constructed great Zimbabwe, that put Phyllis Wheatley's pen to paper, that gave birth to Freedom's Journal. Dreams that inspired Harriet to free the enslaved, that built Tuskegee, Spelman, and Bethune-Cookman, that impelled Garvey to declare, rise up, that stare reality in the eyes and do not blink. Dreams like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., like Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass, and Malcolm X, like those who started Black Lives Matter, who would not be held back. Dream dreams that confront hatred and injustice, that respond to those crying out in the darkness, that plant you firmly on the community watchtower, ever vigilant, ever protective. Dream what is not always easy to achieve, what is sometimes feisty and defiant, what seeks to plant the fertile seeds of change and yearns to help set people free. Dreams like those bold ones that came before, that were wrapped in love and baptized in courage, that faced the mightiest challenges, determined to create a better world.
Beautiful.
That's a wonderful poem. So you're a poet too?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, you know, I have a collection of poems that I had published by Third World Press 2 years ago.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm a, you know, a children writer, a poet,
Okay.
I'm a playwright, you know.
Okay.
And a trailblazer and a pioneer.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And along with my wife, Cheryl, who's in the other room, we are just so blessed to have the support that we have. And you know, it's our faith that has really kept us on the journey, because there certainly have been difficulties and challenges along the way, but it is our faith and a God who we know sits high and looks low, that we continue to move forward and to press on.
Well, you all, Just Us Books is really an institution in Black publishing, book publishing, and we're just so happy that you all stayed around so you all could keep publishing books. Now, how many books have you all published?
Hundreds of books, and we've also partnered with some of the major publishers like Scholastic and Penguin Random House. So yeah. So we've been blessed. But listen, we gotta get down to Texas, okay?
Okay. Well, we're gonna talk after the show. After check your email, I'll be in touch with you, and we'll make it happen.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
We'll be putting the link to the book, as well as the books, as the publishing website. We're putting them both in the chat.
Thank you. And listen, thank you all for what you all are doing. You're doing important work, and you know, we're all in this together, and it is about family, and Cheryl and I consider the two of you family as well, as we try to make a difference in this world. And thank you for the invitation.
And thank you for being here. Wonderful
Yeah.
words. And thank you
And
for closing out the your segment with that beautiful poem and those
Yeah.
beautiful words.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
we look forward to lots more from Just Us Books and the Hudson.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Okay,
Good
good
night.
night. Okay, so we are going to have our next guest come on after we give away our last book. So this book is called Our Gin. It's by Diane McKinney Whetstone, who's a well-known author. I don't think she's had anything out for a while, but this is her upcoming book that comes out. Oh, no, it came out in July. So this is the new book, and this is the advanced reading copy of it. So here's the question for this to win this book is, at the active living community known as the Gin, in this book is a living community known as the Gin, Cynthia, the main character, and her friends play what popular card game? So there's a popular card game they play in this book, and if you answer it correctly, you get a copy. Now, did anyone win Omarion's book?
You know who won that book.
Which, Mary?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Mary wins the book.
Spiritual, physical, and mental.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. So the next person who gets the answer for this one can win our gin. So we're going to welcome our next guest. Her name is Jeannine A. Cook. And Jeannine, I don't know if you received my email while you were on waiting.
I did. I responded.
Okay, good. Okay.
Cool. No
Okay. Okay. All right. Jeannine is she is really busy because she has a bookstore called Harriet's Bookstore, and then she has one called Ida's Bookshop. I mean Harriet's Bookshop,
Yes.
and then Ida's Bookshop as well in 2 different cities in Pennsylvania. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invite.
And thank you for being here. I wanted to visit your bookstore so badly while the Zetas were in Philly. I could not get out of that hotel for anything.
It's all right. We'll still be here, you know.
I'm still coming to visit too.
That's right. We'll be here. We'll be still standing. I'm speaking that.
Now I've seen a picture of you delivering books on a horse. So I want to know what was behind that. What was the motivation?
What's going on with the horse, man?
Oh my goodness. You know what's funny? So there is in Philadelphia, there are groups of urban cowboys, which a lot of folks don't know about, that they raise horses in the city. They teach lessons. You know, and if you're from Philly, you know that any block party, you're gonna have some horses at the block party. But outside of Philly, people are like, what do you talk about? There's urban cowboys, you know? And so I had some communication with the urban cowboys, like, oh, y'all bring the horses down to the bookshop. I want to bring the horses inside of the bookshop. That's how it started. I was like, bring the horses inside the bookshop. And they were like, well, the horses, you know, that could get complicated, but we did our anniversary with Fletcher Street Riding Club, and they taught me how to ride a horse, and they taught me how to deliver books on horseback. And so that relationship still stands. I look forward to working with them. I've been that daggone picture went all bananas. We don't.
Yeah.
I said, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I was not expecting people to get so excited about this.
Because it's different. It's something. You know, it's not commonplace at all.
Yeah, I mean, and during COVID, it was like, here's a way that we could socially distance and still, you know, give out books to folks. And so that's what we did.
That was, when I saw that, I said, well, hey, Jeannine is determined. That's somebody, and she thinks way outside of box. That's
I've heard that before.
That's necessary when you're an entrepreneur.
Think outside the box.
You have to. You can't just do the same thing everybody else has been doing and succeed. You have to do something. You can do the same thing differently. And then you know, it gave us a chance to talk about like Harriet Tubman and how she used horses. That's how she got her parents. Her parents were elders when they decided to leave the South.
and the experience that they was having in enslavement in Maryland. And she used horses to transport them. And then she would sell the horses when she got north so that she would have money so she could take care of them. And so so it became like a way for us to have multiple conversations. And so, yes, it's like, yes, it's fun. But there's also a lot of history in our communities with horses.
Yes. I don't think people really appreciate the amount of history. I live in Maryland, in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I don't think people really appreciate the amount of history. When people think about Black history, they used to think about down south, which we should. I'm from the South myself, but just being up here and the amount of history that's up in this region, in this northern eastern region.
And I really love your area. I love your area. I love it. Like Frederick Douglass, I'd like to think about like what was in that water that was producing the kind of minds that said, you know what, we out. Yes. Slavery, what? Not for me, I'm out. Like what kind of, what's in that area that's producing those kind of thinkers?
Well, it's not even just Maryland. Even though I always say this, the church I used to go to when I lived here before was a church that was actually started by Nat Turner and his family, and that always excited me. But it's not even just Maryland, but up in Philadelphia as well. There's so much history that we just don't think about.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Philly, they call Philly the city of first. There's so many first things that happen here. And, so my friend came in from California for the first time he came to Philly. So I was like, this is a big building. This is an old building. I was giving him my tour. But I was also, I was like, but the Liberty Bell is here. That is true. And that there's a reason for that. That is the hall where the Constitution was, signed, or so they say. And so there is a lot of, I didn't know, but because I'm in Fishtown now, the Lenape people, like they're the original indigenous people to this land. Not only were they here, but then they would bring other leaders to this area. And this is the area where they would make decisions about their tribes all over. And so, maybe something in the water, I don't know, but I feel it.
Oh, maybe there is something in the water. We need to find it and bottle it.
Or some kind of spiritual connection, sometimes.
Perhaps. I mean, Harriet, this is the first place Harriet came when she came out of freedom.
Right.
And this is where Ida, we also have Ida's bookshop. This is where Ida was when she decided, I'm not going back down south. And so there's, maybe there's something, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, how old are your bookshops?
Harriet's is 2, Ida's is 1. So
wow,
they're little tiny baby bookshops.
Okay, well, babies that are making a big boom.
Absolutely. I would tell you, I had no idea. And then people were like, "How could you not know?" But I had no idea that they would ever do the things that they've done. But
I have to ask you though, what gave you the audacity to open not 1 but 2 Black-owned bookstores when so many Black-owned bookstores are closing?
Yeah,
in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes, in the middle of a pandemic.
I don't think I do it alone. Of course, I think that there were some decisions that had to be made, and I've been obedient. And so that's a big part of it. And I think that, but we've always been a people with audacity, right?
Yes.
Like, who has the audacity to say, I'm out, I'm gonna walk across states until I get to my destination of freedom. And I'm gonna do that even if I don't have shoes on. I'm gonna do that even if it's cold. Like, we are an audacious people. I come from an audacious people. And so I think that that's just how it goes. I think especially when we listen to that voice, that inkling, that calling, whatever folks want to call it.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what inspired you to name the stores? Because when you have a store, you have to name it something.
Yes.
And sometimes the name is the person who's the owner.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's something different.
Yeah.
So when did you decide you want to do Harriet and then Ida?
So I think that Harriet, if you go back and look at the film, there was a film crew that was at the opening of Harriet's bookshop. And when we were doing the opening circle and we were, doing what we were called, like a blessing for the space. And they asked me to call on someone, we were all calling on people. And I called on Ida B. Wells. And so every time I look at that part of the film, I'm like, wow, I wonder why I called on Ida at that moment while we were opening Harriet's. And maybe there was more to it than I understood at the time. But Harriet, I've been having a conversation with for some time. I've been fascinated and intrigued and inspired by a woman who could do the things that this woman did, right? Like I thought, wow, she's almost like a superhero, but she's a human, right? And that was really important for me. And she's a woman, and she looks like me, and she, and she was just doing all types of wild stuff, right? Like they would say that Harriet would change her identities and change her name and show up places in a whole different look, and people wouldn't even know that's who that was because she had to keep herself safe. And so I just loved the essence, the spirit of who that was, the kind of woman that was. She's always been like, maybe since third grade, I've been inspired by her. And so when we were thinking about, and I was like, okay, well, I want to do, if I'm going to create a space, I want to create a space that's in honor of somebody I find to be important, right? Somebody who's like, if we're going to call on a name, I want to call on a name that matters, right? Like, I think we forget, like, when we call on with Macy's, that's somebody, that's somebody's actual name. When we call on, that's something, McDonald's, that's somebody's name, and so what names are we calling on where we are from? And so I was like, well, I would call on Harriet. I'd call on Ida. I'd call on, right now we're doing a pop-up shop with Marion. I want to call on these powerful, audacious, I love that word, women who did things that I hope other people will be inspired to follow in their footsteps. I hope when we're thinking about freedom, we're thinking about not only our own freedom, but the freedom of those who might not be experiencing freedom just yet. And when we think about being writers, I say, okay, well, let's use our writing to not only, I feel, I'm inspiring myself and I'm so good and I'm great. I'm, that narcissistic kind of writing. No, like, what if we used our writing to inspire generations? What if we used our writing to undercut injustice? And so, I think that those are the women that when we call on them, we call forth their essence. And that's what I hope that's what we're doing.
Well, I was just about to ask you a silly question, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway.
Go ahead. No silly questions.
Because I was just going to say, do you feel that you have a higher calling than just a bookstore? But you already answered that question.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that and had I known that all of this was coming, I probably would have been too afraid to do it. I thought, I'm gonna have this little bookshop, I'm gonna sit in there, I'm gonna write a little, my friends might stop by, every now and then, it's just like a very, very limited vision. But I like to, like, now, I really think about, like, dang, sometimes we're really thinking small about what's possible for ourselves, what's possible for our communities, what's possible for the world, right? And so I was like, and that's been my ultimate lesson, is that, sometimes I'm thinking a little too small, because I thought it was gonna be, this little, I'm in the corner somewhere, and
well, not with the name like Harriet.
That's what everybody says. Everybody's like, you ain't pick that with the name like Harriet. And I said, well, I thought I was just doing my part. I thought, and I am still just doing my part. But I thought, if we're gonna venerate our ancestors, I would love to be, thinking about how to do that in a way that I think is worthy, and so. That's all I thought. I thought, we would create a beautiful space, and that would, in some ways the space is like a museum, because you learn about Harriet just by virtue of walking into the door.
Right.
In some ways it's like an art gallery, because I'm a creative. And so my mind is always like, well, what if we do this? Or why can't we do that? And what makes a bookstore have to live inside this? Like you said before, thinking out of the box, like why does a bookstore have to live in these certain parameters? Like, why can't we have a choir at our bookshop? Why can't, and we do. And why can't we have live music on, why can't we have days where it's just silence? Why can't we, and we can. And the more that I've been thinking like that, the more possibilities have been opened up.
So do you have certain days, like sometimes people may have poetry day or a music day or anything like that? Do you have a schedule?
Yeah, so during February, what we did was we had a choir that sang every Sunday. And they sang songs that were Harriet's favorites. And so I spoke to a historian and she gave me a list, and I taught the young, I ain't teach them because I can't sing, but I gave the young people the songs that I thought that they should learn. In my imagination, or in my experience, the young people, we're getting further and further away from our own traditions. And so I was like, when I say to the young people, do you know this song? They're like, no, I don't know it. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's keep these traditions alive. And so we do that. But it's just been arranged, like sometimes we have the DJ come in, sometimes we, like, the orchestra was there, like members of the orchestra were at the bookshop last Sunday.
Yes.
So it's very organic, and it takes on at this point, it really does take on a life of its own. And I'm just, again, that's why I call myself the shopkeeper, because I'm just kind of making sure things don't go off the rails as much as possible. But it has folks are like, okay, I'm coming in from out of town. Like you were talking about the date, it's like I'm coming from out of town. Folks are coming from, a woman was from Benin. She did a whole talk about the bookshop. I was like, wow, this is way, and art is like that, I think, it goes into interpretations that I never would have expected.
Now, in your bookshops, the Harriet one and the Ida one, do you have I don't want to call it a shrine, but do you have a section about Harriet Tubman, books about her, picture or something?
Yeah, it's all throughout. It's all
throughout. It's all throughout.
It's all throughout.
Okay.
So and you'll see when you visit, it's all throughout. So it's integrated. And then right now, and the exhibits change. I call them exhibits, kind of like an art gallery. So now at Harriet's, when you go into the basement, you go with a candle. You look at the books by candlelight. When you come back, you talk about what that experience was like. We talk about our ancestors who had to hide to read. We talk about the book bans and how that, that's not a new thing, right? Our ancestors know all about book bans, right? Because at one point, folks was getting murdered. They was getting lynched if they were being caught with any type of literature. And so that's not something new, but it is important for folks to remember that there's a reason why somebody would want to ban a book, right? That's not just because, I don't like this topic. No, it's about control. And so, when you take the exhibit downstairs, you do that by candlelight. When you come upstairs, everything is black and white, like a drawing. So it's like you're inside of a book. And you're inside of the 1619 Project, which is by Nicole Hannah-Jones. And that book is one of the books that has been at the center of the book bans. And so, I'm thinking about how the space can be used for creating dialogue and for, pushing folks into action potentially. And I think that's what Harriet has, shown herself to do. And then Ida's is similar. Ida's is her, you'll see her imagery, you'll see her words all throughout the space. You'll also see things that she, like her favorites, you'll see pins, you'll feel her in certain, and I think in certain ways. But of course, plenty of books about these people, so that when folks leave, I encourage you to leave with a book about them.
Well, book bans they're not successful in that what they do is they make the book sell. I mean, they really make them bestsellers when they, because people want to say, okay, why are you banning it? Let me go buy
What's in
it.
this one?
So whatever
Toni
their
Morrison,
objective.
they did that to her a bunch of her books are banned books, Alice Walker, who I got to interview, which was crazy and next level.
I'm sure.
But The Color Purple was, folks would, you can't watch that movie. You can't read that book.
The Color Purple, I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing.
So it's
I think Beloved is banned in some.
Beloved, Sula, Bluest Eye, and so whatever, folks will do whatever to try to keep folks from having thoughts. You can't, the policing of thoughts, the policing of stories is silly.
Right. Well, Bernita Francine, she must have been to your store a million times, because she's been all over the chat just talking about how great your stores are. But she mentioned that you also have merchandise. You sell T-shirts and things like that. So what do you have in your store? So I walk into your store, what can I find?
So there's a lot of Philly-centric merch, right? And so there's this. In Philly, we talk about the word John, and in general, I think it's cool to use language in ways in which we hide messaging, and so people don't necessarily know unless you want them to know what you're talking about. And so a lot of the merch is like that, right? And so there's a guy came in with his daughter, and he was like, what does this mean? You know, so it's like, it really is like, if you know, kind of the merch is like that. So we have some that have the names of the women who kind of are the foremothers of the shop. So Zora, Octavia, Alice, Tony. And some people will say, well, who the heck is, oh, I heard of Alice, but I don't know who Octavia, and so the shirts are designed to elicit thought, which is, that's what the bookshops are designed to do as well.
Okay, and it's for Octavia Butler, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Because
Books I read.
some people come to me and are like, I've heard of this person, but I don't know who that is. And I was like, okay, get to do some homework. That's okay.
Yeah, now you're also an author yourself.
Yeah,
so tell us about that.
Yeah, so my book is called Conversations with Harriet. And now when I read it, I'm a little cringy. I'm like, oh, why did I say all of that? Because it was a compilation of things that I've written over the years. So it's like some things go way back. And it's like, wow, I don't even think that anymore. But I was thinking it then, I guess.
Yeah, but hopefully we all don't think exactly like we thought. We hopefully we're learning and evolving and gaining wisdom and being able to reflect. And I was doing that the other day, and I said, you know what, God is good, because I could have ended up in a bad
if I would have just stopped where I was. I wasn't finished cooking yet.
Right.
And I'm still not, I'm still cooking. So the stuff I'm writing now, I'll probably look back and be like, what were you talking about? But, for the summer, I had a cool experience where I got a scholarship to attend an institute in France that was all about James Baldwin. And so there were these amazing scholars that came together who, a woman from South Korea who's teaching Baldwin at an all-girls South Korean school. And there was folks that were doing like all this like digital technology around Baldwin's, walk in France. And so like there were lots of cool and interesting projects. And while I was there, I also have been working on my memoir. And so hopefully I can get that completed in the, the next few months.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So what do you have like on the horizon for your two bookshops? What are a couple of your goals for them, for let's say for 2023, since this year is almost over?
I can't believe this year is almost gone.
I can't either.
So fast. Like we're almost about to hit Christmas again.
Right, again.
Like it was just Christmas. So I think one just simple is just making sure they stay, making sure that, it's not what you cop, it's about what you keep. And so I'm really trying to just do that very simple work of like keeping it going. We are gonna have, I'm gonna be interviewing Dr. Ibram X. Kendi soon, the author of How to Be an Anti-Racist. So like some big authors that I've been only just like fanning out about that I'm now able to interview. So that's gonna be great. And just keeping really simple is just like selling your books, like really be, keeping being in integrity and supporting communities, as you've said, like keeping the mission going, celebrate women authors, artists, activists, like staying very, very focused and streamlined. Like for like 5 seconds, I was like, maybe I'll do a cafe and maybe I'll do a and it's like, no. Just simple, keep it simple. You sell books, sell your books, so it's like that, as much as I enjoy being a creative, I also need to like, have.
You have to pace yourself.
And have enterprise. Exactly. I don't have to do it all. And, I don't have to try to take over everything. And like.
Shaka Khan said, we're every woman.
I'm gonna be every woman in these two shops, I gotta, so it's simple, but cool projects, right? Cool people. I have an opportunity to build a library down in Easton. So I'll be working with a group down there on that. I've been working with a group in Nairobi on their library. So, I've been being invited to do some cool projects as well. But my focus, I have to, keep doing what I've been doing.
Wonderful. So we only have a few minutes left, but we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you, how do authors get into your store? Are they able to do book signings? Are they able to sell in your store? How does that process work?
So it's a few different ways. And I do want to just say to you all, thank you so much for the invitation. Thanks for having me here and allowing me to talk about the bookshop. This is how we, spread the word. This is how we stay doing what we get to do. But to your question, I've been thinking about this indie author thing, right? And how do you really get indie authors to a place where they're able to thrive? Because sometimes it's really difficult. It's hard for audiences who've never heard of somebody to decide to pick up their book. So we have this thing called Readers and Writers Happy Hour. And so Readers and Writers Happy Hour is like, you can come as an independent author, bring your books with you right then and there, and you can mingle with the audiences that are there. And you can sell your books directly to people who are in there, but you get to speak to them. You get to kind of be a face to your book. And I think that indie authors need that, because sometimes if it's just sitting on the shelf, it doesn't have that same kind of connection for people.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that this will be my first one on October 1st. And I'm hoping that Readers and Writers Happy Hour, and like, I'm not charging the independent authors. I just want you to come, meet each other, be in community with each other, and be in community with folks who like to read, and sell directly to your customer and see how it goes. And I'll also be aware of who's doing what, and I'll be able to be like, yeah, I'll place an order as well. Folks can they can actually submit their books on our website, oursisterbookshops.com. And you can, and other than that, like, stop in, build a relationship. Really, a lot of it is about relationships and us being able to share the book with people. We can't do that if we don't really understand your story or have a real connection. So that's what I've been hoping to do with the independent authors, or any author.
Okay, so the Harriet Bookshop is actually in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Is Ida's Bookshop, where's that located?
It's in New Jersey. It's in Collingswood, New Jersey. Yep.
Oh, okay. So do you go back?
I thought they were both in the same city. I'm glad you asked that question.
No, Jersey. They're not even in the same state.
They're not even in the same state.
Different laws. I'm like, oh my goodness, but
I guess I'm gonna be visiting those two stores on the same day.
Yes, you do though, because I tell people, if you do a double feature, if you go see, because they're only 15 minutes apart. It's just that we're right here on the bridge, so we're right here on both sides. We're right next to the bridge. And so I tell people, if you go do a double feature, you'll get a discount in both shops. So, it's like, go ahead. You say if you take your bookmark from Harriet's over to Ida's, then we'll say, okay, boom, you get your little discount or whatever. And so that's been cool. And then we also have during Women's History Month, we do a trolley tour where we take people to not only our bookshop, but we take them to other women-owned businesses in the city so that they can see what other women are doing. And we do that now on both sides too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you could get across the bridge. It's not big.
Okay, I guess I can go across the bridge.
It's $5.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes I'm from the East Coast, but I've been in Texas a long time. Sometimes I forget how close everything is on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Because you can drive for hours in Texas, hours and hours and hours.
Right. I mean, we're only 2 hours from New York. We're 2 hours from DC. We're 2 hours. Like you could be almost anywhere.
Yeah, everything's very close.
That's true. That's true. That's
why
I'm gonna have to pop on up there.
Right. We do a New York day trip. We do a Maryland day trip. We do.
Yeah, everything's very close. I went to school in Washington, so my best friend in college and roommate was from Philly. So I spent a lot of time in Philly when I was in college, especially and then we would go to New York too.
Right. That's what I said. It's all right here. All right here.
Yeah, it's all together.
I want to come to Texas. I'm supposed to be in Texas in November. I'm in Houston, so I'll look you up.
Oh, okay. Please do. Please do. And I just remember.
You can come a little bit earlier.
Yeah, in November, it's really nice weather. So don't think beautiful. We have beautiful weather in November. It'll be about 75, 80. That's when it starts to cool off.
Not over here.
Yeah, I know. So I'm saying when you come, just be prepared. The weather is drastically different.
Yeah, I'll look forward to it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being, I was going to call you Harriet. Jeannine for
They
being.
come up all the time. They come up, they be like, Miss Harriet. They call me Miss Harriet. Hey, y'all. Not even just Harriet, Miss Harriet. I'm like, okay.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the show, and continue
Absolutely.
success with both of your bookshops.
Thank
And
you so much.
this is a major accomplishment. And
Absolutely.
congratulations.
Thank you. And we only are able to do it because of you all. So thank you so much for being a part of the journey with us. And and thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're
Well,
welcome.
thank you for being here.
All right, y'all.
Okay,
Have a great
good
one.
night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, so who won the book? I did. The answer was Pinochle, and I saw that somebody had put
Yeah, I think that
Pinochle
was,
in. I think it was Bernita.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think it was Bernita. Now I gotta, let me search. Bernita, was it you? Go ahead and tell us.
Because I did see it
Yeah,
somewhere.
she said me.
Okay, yeah. Because Lydia said Gin Rummy. No, it was Pinochle. So
Yeah, no,
All right.
it was Bernita.
okay. All right. Well, Bernita, we will. I think we have your address, but just to be on the safe side, DM me your mailing address just in case. Because I'm not 100% about that. So before we bring on our final guest, Michelle Lindo-Rice, I do want to let people know the hour by hour schedule for the upcoming National Black Book Festival will be on the website by the end of the week. So you'll be able to look hour by hour and see everything that's going to be going on. Almost all of it's free. It's only a charge if food is served. So everything.
And to buy a book.
Well, yeah, we want you to buy. That's why we have it all free. So you can come and buy all the books for all the authors that are going to be there. So our final guest for tonight is Michelle Lindo-Rice, and she is an author, multi-published author, as well as she has a new venture with the literary agency. I don't know if it's her agency or if she joined an agency. I think she joined one, but she's going to tell us the facts about that. And Michelle, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hello. Thank you so much for the invite.
And thank you for being here. And congratulations, because your book was just published. What?
Oh, yes,
2 weeks
yes.
ago?
Yes, it was Cinderella's Last Stand.
And
Yes.
it
was just published the day after my birthday, August 23rd, actually. So it was a great birthday gift.
Oh,
okay.
Congratulations.
And which book number is this for you as far as your published books? Do you know the number?
Oh, wow.
Or just a range?
It's around, I think, 18. I have to go count now to make sure I have it straight in my head.
Authors always say that they have to go count the books.
Yes.
Yeah,
because
I wonder if I'm going to ever get to that point, because I know exactly how many I have. And so I'm wondering if I have so many that I'll lose count, but I don't know. I don't know.
Sometimes I'm like, okay, I have such and such books, and yeah, I have to do that to some. You know what?
I actually think I'm probably at like 20 something now, because I also write as Zoe.
Something.
Because I'm not counting. I think if I count Zoe's books, it's a little bit. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that authors
who. Do you have any anthologies as well?
I'm actually a part of I think Tia wrote an anthology, and I'm in that. But other than that, that's the only one I've been in.
Okay, so you have to count the anthology too.
Okay, all right, then I'm definitely gonna go count.
And I found that authors who write under more than one name, that makes them lose count, because they have to count the ones under this name and this name. And
yes.
So do you write under another name?
Yes, I write as Michelle Lindo-Rice, and now I'm also writing as Zoe Marie Jackson for the Harlequin Love Inspired line. So I have this one out, and this one is coming out in October 25th.
Oh, okay.
Christmas switch.
Okay, so that's the what do they call that?
They're Harlequin love inspired romances. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's it's not interracial. It's I forgot what the word is that they use for books that have a
Swirl.
swirl.
What do you call
No,
swirl? Oh, okay.
it's another word. Anyway, so the book by Zoe, is that a children's book?
No. These are for Harlequin love inspired. These are romances.
Well, I saw that, but I saw some kids on it, so
Kids
that's
are-
all. Maybe
Yeah, because the love inspired lines do a lot with babies and kids. So these two adorable twins, they were like, it's based off the book Sister, the show that we used to watch, Sister.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So these were the twins that try to match make.
Oh, okay, okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Now I see. I see. So tell us. I saw that you had a series called Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and I know a lot of people who are young won't even know what that means. But that was an old classic film.
And I absolutely love that movie. I used to
Me
watch it
too.
all the
It's a
time.
musical, and it's a love story.
Yes.
And
Check,
it's
check.
really, I've seen it. They show it on Turner Classic Movies sometimes, for those if you all ever want to watch it. It's old school, but it's just a feel-good type love story that's musical, and they dance in it too. But it's white people. But I really want to I'm just letting people know the cultural aspect.
Oh, okay.
That's all. In case they were thinking it was a black movie, and then they watched it. I thought this was a black movie. I wanted to just let them know that.
Footloose, I think, had one black person in the whole movie, and it was about dancing. And I think that one black person was really just an extra at the prom. It wasn't even a main character.
Okay, these people are lumberjacks, and they live
This
out
is
in
a
a
long
rural
time
area.
ago.
And there's no black people anywhere to be found.
Now you have me curious because I don't remember seeing a black person on there. I have to go search.
No, there's no black people. They live in
okay,
the woods.
okay.
Like it's a rural, like really super rural.
I'm
And
going
they're
to watch the movie
lumberjacks.
after the show.
Yeah, it's probably.
I'm going to screenshot the one black person I find.
There aren't any. I can tell you that for a fact.
I don't remember seeing any. It was like, so I grew up watching that and the Sound of Music. I used to be able to sing all the words, sing the song. So, I love any ode to those musicals. I just absolutely love them. I enjoy them. And so the Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, gives a little ode to that. So my family that I created is a blended family. So book one, you got to meet Axel, Links in book one, rather Links. And so these are brothers that are made up of with a blended family. And then you also Axel in book two. So I'm honored that I get a chance, hopefully, to bring you the rest of these. The brothers.
So are there seven? Are there going to be 7 books in the series?
Yeah, there should be.
Okay. Okay.
Well, tell us about. I don't even know. We got to talking about the Seven Brides
because it's a series. It's the name of the series.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to know what's Cinderella's Last Stand about. Did we talk about that?
Oh, first of all, I've got to tell you, this is one of the most gorgeous book covers I've ever seen.
It is. I was just going to say that. The colors are nice and vibrant. The models are beautiful.
I love this cover. Yeah, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's Maddie. She's an assistant to Axel, a movie star, and he's spoiled and she's just had enough. I think 2 weeks notice with Sandra Bullock. And she's just like, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. I'm done. And of course he finds out she's the one he probably can't live without, so that's Axel and Maddie's story. So it was exciting to write. I absolutely love it. It was a lot of fun writing this book.
Okay. The model on that reminds you of the actor from Bridgerton a little bit. Can't remember his name.
What, Rick and Sean?
Doesn't he from the side? Now, not his hair, but his profile.
Well,
Doesn't he favor him a little bit? You don't think so?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Mhm.
I think his forehead ruins that look. The forehead is a little more flat, probably. Whoever he is, though,
Okay.
I just think they're a gorgeous couple. I think
They are.
I just think it's so regal. It has that Cinderella look.
Yes.
It, and of course,
Mhm.
you know, she loves shoes. So that's another reason with that Cinderella ad.
Liz Dove said no with the laughing emoji.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought okay. All right. Well, who would you say is your in reader? Who's your prime reader?
Um, Definitely, a lot of Black women read my books. Readers of you know, I share readers with Rhonda McKnight, or some readers with Victoria Christopher Murray and Rashonda Tate Billingsley. You know, there's a group on Facebook that are so supportive, and they support all of us. Vanessa Miller, you know, so all those readers I think I share with, and you know, they just support us all, and we get to celebrate them, you know, by sometimes giving them advanced reader copy, and they're so devoted. They'll read it, they'll post a review. They're not the ones that just want a free book. They'll actually read it or post a review. And you know, I wouldn't, they're the most encouraging group, are Black women who read. And you know, there's so many statistics on how much Black women read, that we read not just other Black women, but we read across genres and across races. We just read once the story captures us. And so it's a pleasure, you know, writing for the Target, to get that representation out there. How many, you know, I would say of late, I've seen a lot of great Black representation in Harlequin. Before I grew up, I didn't remember seeing Black characters on Harlequin growing up. I read them for sure. So it's so great seeing that representation. You know, with the Harlequin Love Inspired, there, you know, I get to write for them along with Tony Shiloh. She's written for Harlequin Love Inspired, you know, so they're really a lot of us now writing for the Harlequin line. I think the Harlequin Desire line, they'll have a ton of talented authors, and they have some beautiful, gorgeous covers, you know, so like Laquette, who's written for them, and others who have written for them. So it's just wonderful that we get that chance to share and represent. And also, you know, they're even working with Asian as well, because JC Lee, she's another author who has written, and now we see Asian characters as well. So I think it's just wonderful, because we have the talent, and it's good in especially like a trademark categorical romance like that, to see our faces now across.
Right.
And it's across races who are reading me
I
now.
think it's beautiful to see, and just as you said, so many writers across races who are a part of the Harlequin brand,
Yes.
because that's an established brand. And you mentioned them having beautiful covers. They've always had beautiful covers. They've always had the beautiful men on the front, you know. Yeah, see, you know what I'm talking about. You know, so this is about a part of who they are. So it says a lot about the author if they're a part of that line. So my question to you, with that being said, what makes a Harlequin romance writer stand out from just a regular romance writer?
I think because, as you said, it's such an established brand, and it has an established reader. Certain lines, I think, they don't, they may not deviate too much from what the line was meant to write. So, you know, if you're reading a Love Inspired, you know, generally the kind of book that you're going to get, and they have very loyal readers, and they satisfy that market well. So I think that that's really what, when it comes to Harlequin, the Desire line, you know, you're going to get some heat in there, and wow, it's pretty toasty reading those novels, you know, so you kind of know based on the imprint what you're gonna get. I think Harlequin Presents often have like a billionaire, you know, so it depends on what you want to read. You can know the imprint to go to, and they're really well established with that. Just for myself, writing for a special edition and also for Love Inspired, the editing team, they are absolutely amazing and really supportive, and they really you know, work with you to really get a good product out there. But they, you know, you're allowed to fly a little bit, but you know, you still have to meet the construct of the line itself that you write for.
Now, I think it's multicultural romance that I'm thinking of, the term.
Okay.
For the, normally a lot of them have a Black woman.
Swirl.
Yeah, the swirl. Yeah, that's the other word, but the technical like genre is multicultural romance, and it's normally a Black woman with a non-Black partner.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't really seen
Yeah.
it because Black women readers really don't want to, well, I shouldn't say that. They will be more likely to read a book with a female and the male is another race than a Black male with the female
Another race.
of another race. Because the female audience is who's reading the books.
I see what you're saying.
You know,
I mean,
I don't know if men read romance. I doubt it, but not many.
I think romance readers, I think that may play a part in it, but like I said, even for me, I've had different races reading my books. I think it's just they like a certain trope. And if they read this and they see, oh, I like enemies to lovers, I like rivals, I like the neighbor next door that I can't stand, and then they get together, you know, so it's really tropey. And I think they're really like after not that the book covers aren't important and the characters aren't important, but I think a lot of it is also based on the trope. And if they see, this is where though, I feel if they see like for example, Cinderella Last Stand that have a Black couple on the cover, but if they see some great reviews, I think other races are gonna read it. Being a Black woman myself and a reader, if I hear enough about a book, and it captures me, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna see what the fuss is all about. Because I think a lot of us read. I mean, I've read Marie Benedict, Christine McDonough. We read so many different people that are outside of our race on a whole. I think, you know, yeah.
Well, I think, it's a couple of things. I think we're probably more likely to venture out than others are necessarily to venture in, although that is changing. But, you know, years ago, we didn't really have all these books by Black authors that we could read. Now we just have so many we choose from that it's like my to be read shelf is always full and I'm always adding to it, you know?
Mine too. My Kindle is overflowing and I don't know if I'll ever catch up on the books that are in there. I try, but I can't.
My Kindle, my bookshelf, my Audible account, they're all filled with books that I'm trying to get to. I think I'm reading maybe 3 books at one time. I'll stop reading one and I might read something else, and it's taking me forever to get through them. But that's just the art of reading. That's the fun of reading.
It is. And I like supporting the authors, even if I don't get to the book. I like that I'm able to support the authors because
that's something too that I'm finding that Harlequin, the authors are so supportive of each other.
That's wonderful.
That's across the races, you know what I mean? It's just you write for Love Inspired, the other Love Inspired authors, they are like retweeting, helping you, you know, say, hey, won't you come in with me on this? They're an absolutely wonderful group of just writers as well. And I've noticed that as well with the Desire line. It's just really supportive romance landia, you know what I mean? That whole genre.
What is your advice to someone who wants to get into that space of being a Harlequin romance writer?
Something that actually Rhonda had told me about that I didn't know, and I'm now part of that group is that there's actually a Harlequin group for people that want to write for Harlequin. And so
Oh.
they talk a lot in there. They post, they'll encourage each other. They'll say, sometimes they'll have a post where they say, if you want a critique partner with you, or they'll say, you know, this line is about to close, or this is about, you know, so it's really information, it's really encouraging. And you'll see people posting, they're like, oh, I just submitted my manuscript to Submittable. I'm waiting to see if I make it through, you know, so they have Facebook group devoted to that, and Harlequin staff that I think are in there that runs it as
Right.
well. Their publicity people,
Well,
I think, are the ones.
There's a lot of value in books like that where they're actually sharing real information about the industry, not so much complaining about the industry, not trying to get something free, not
Yeah.
not all of that, not fighting with each other, but actually coming together and giving real information about
Yeah.
what's going on in it. That's one of the reasons why, not why I became an author, but how I became an author. Because, you know,
Yeah.
before Facebook and everything came around, we had those listservs where, you know, where you got all those emails.
Yes.
And somebody sent me an email about a publishing company that was looking for authors. And I was like, are you sure that, I mean, because I went to the website and I didn't see anybody on that website who looked like me. And I said, are they taking Black authors? She said, well, all you can do is try. I said, okay. I contacted them, and that's how I was able to get my foot in the door. And that's how I became an author, because we were sharing real information with each other. And I think now we've gotten to this part where we're competing so much and we're trying to get so many things for free that we've gotten away from that. And we've got to get back to that, actually supporting each other.
Yes, I so agree. And I for one, I didn't make it where I was until I started attending conferences. You know, my
Right.
first was Tiffany Warren had a conference called the Faith and Fiction Retreat. And that's how I met Joylyn Ross. And I learned some things that I didn't know, like how to pitch, how to query, you know, different things like that. And that's how I first got signed with Urban Christian. And then you know, now there's the Christian Book Lovers Retreat, or I recently attended the Black Ink Conference, you know, and they were able to get, you know, big executives, executive editors from Harlequin and Park Row, and, you know, things that were, you know, unattainable for us. We are able to access that through Zoom, you know. It opened up a lot. This Zoom platform, you don't have to pay money to travel. You just need internet and good lighting, and you know, and a chance. And so I think these are some of the opportunities that are there that other writers you know, need to know about and really need to understand, as you said, that power of networking, the power of getting to know people, of learning. And all of that, like what you said, that's our modern day, I think, version of it is kind of this, like what we're doing now, you know, over Zoom and talking and sharing. It's a modern version of it. So gone are the days where we probably would just lock away and then you just, you know, you never saw the person. Someone told me this 10 years ago, and they were absolutely right. They goes, oh no, they said to me, they were like, no one's going to buy your book if they don't know you. So that's when I joined Facebook. You know, I had to learn. Yeah, that's the culture that we're in now. Yeah.
Well, we only have a little bit of time left, but I did want to ask you about, and because I think Gwen mentioned that you are, you've gotten into the agent space.
Yes. I'm a newbie. I'm a baby all over.
Okay. Yeah, tell us about what you're doing with the agency. Is it your agency? Are you signed with an agency?
Okay. Yes. No. This platform is one that you really build a base of experience. And if I just started an agency and I didn't do any kind of internship or anything, people would think I'm a schmagent, not a real agent. So one of the ways to get you in, I did an internship with Oldswanger Oldswanger Literary Agency. And then she brought me in now as a literary associate. And so I get to help others, the door is cracked and that crack is closing, and I got to get a couple more in with me, who are talented, who are devoted to the craft, who have been, like I said, studying network, just need an opportunity. And I love that chance. So I just opened, I'm on Query Manager, Query Tracker. So I opened my mailbox. I think I've had maybe close to 200 or 300 so far. I got to count.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so going through those, my little sister is my little screener that's helping me, and I pinpoint those that I'm looking at and going through. And there are a lot of talented people out there, and the capacity that you have is limited. So,
Right.
so now I get a chance to network with editors and all of that, and
Well,
then
what's going to help you to stand out? Because if you have 300 people already in your inbox, and let's say you're
well,
only able
I'll
to
tell you what will help you
5
stand
of them.
out is that I just said it. If you're knowledgeable about the genre, for example, you're writing women's fiction and your book 35,000 words, that's an indicator that you don't know the genre, because you need at least 80. So that kind of is an easy one to say, okay, you're not ready yet, or you're not knowledgeable yet. I'm also learning, like, I'm naturally helpful, but when you get that number, it's just like you have to just keep going, and to
Right.
plug away at it, because people are waiting to hear from you. And I try to give advice where I can, but there are times where I just have to say no. Or you may get one that you see 328,000 words and you're like, oh no.
328,000 words.
So
That's
that's
Stephen King.
great,
That's like
a
a Stephen
great
King
query.
novel.
Not everybody knows what a query is. So that's
Yeah.
another indicator. The first couple paragraphs tells a lot.
Right.
You can tell craft and that draws you in. And I mean, I didn't know this myself either. Like I said, I had to learn, like how others have to learn. And so before you query, you want to make sure that you go to these workshops, or you look it up. Google is there. It's on the
Yeah.
load.
It's amazing what you can Google and find.
Yeah.
So if someone was wanting to submit a query, it could be to you or any agency. What are a couple of just tips that you can give them?
A definite tip is make sure your manuscript is complete. That's very important.
Okay.
Make sure it meets the word count for the genre that you're writing. So if you want to write for Harlequin, the word count should be between 50,000 and 60,000, depending on the line you want to write for. But definitely your query letter. You got to be able to pitch your work. You got to be able to be concise about what it's about, and make sure that it is, it captures the person who is reading the query. Because that's where it starts. Sometimes you don't go past the query. And so you got to make sure that your query, you want to make sure you mention the title of the book, the genre that it is, how many words. Those are the things that you need. But then in the query, you need to have, quote unquote, what we would probably call the blurb. You got to make sure that's in there. You got to make sure that you're capturing what it's about. And, you also want to know your comps, like what is this book like?
Right,
what are
right.
fans of? That's another indicator when you know someone who doesn't know the market as well. So.
Okay.
And it's very important to study the market.
It is. So, Michelle, how can people reach out to you about your books, or potentially your agency work if they want to just know about it? Could be now or for the future,
Definitely.
Not
I'm looking for hungry writers that are like, that have more than one idea, because that one idea you have may not sell right away. So what else do you have? I need a go-getter. That's what I'm looking for. And you can find me at Michelle's Z for Zoe, MichelleZJackson.com. That's my legal name. That's where I'm at with the literary agency. As far as my books, you can Google Michelle Lindo-Rice. You're gonna find me, and you're
Okay.
also gonna find Zoe Marie Jackson. They
Okay.
both have websites. I'm not any more than 3 names. I can't manage any more. But so you can find me, reach out to me, and query, and I will see it. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, we did put your links into the chat. So
Thank you so much.
people will be able to get to them and they'll be able to reach out to you. But this was a fun interview.
Yeah, thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for
I
being
enjoyed
on
it. The
Authors
time
Matter
seemed to
TV.
move really quickly. Thank you.
It does. Well, continued success with everything that you're doing.
Thank
And
you so much.
thanks for being a guest on the show.
Bye. Thanks.
Hi, thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our final interview for tonight. We've had a great evening as usual. And I'm just reminding everyone, if you're going to participate in the book club kickback next week, this is the book we're reading. I'm just getting started because, of course, I read 2-3 books before. And my book club is actually reading this book for our Saturday meeting. So I need to get on it. So anyway.
I better get on it too. Goodness.
Yeah, because we are giving away 3 autographed copies of the book on the show. That's what we do for the book club kickback. But you have to have read the book because the trivia comes from the storyline, not the synopsis. So to win an autographed copy of the book, you'll need to do that. So anyway, we're done for tonight. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great night. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.